So let's get right into it. The hashtag #MeToo movement. I mean, it felt like this massive, seismic shift across the entire globe, right? But now that some time has passed, what's its actual legacy? Did it create lasting change? Or was it a powerful moment that's kind of fizzled out or faced a major backlash? Today, we're going to dig into that exact question, looking at research that asks, was hashtag #MeToo a true revolution, or has it been watered down to just rhetoric?
For so many of us, this is where the story just exploded into our lives. October 15th, 2017. The actress Alyssa Milano sends out this tweet. She says, if all the women who have been sexually harassed or assaulted wrote Me Too as a status, we might give people a sense of the magnitude of the problem. It was such a simple idea, but man, it became a digital wildfire, seen by millions and millions of people. But here's the thing. The power behind those two little words started long before that viral moment. As the movement's actual founder, Tarana Burke, said, they are two magic words that galvanize the world. And to really understand the movement, you have to go back to its real beginning. So let's break that down. How did this grassroots effort, which was born from a place of real empathy, get supercharged into the global phenomenon we all know?
Okay, this is so crucial to understand. The phrase Me Too was not invented for Twitter. It was started way back in 2006 by the activist Tarana Burke. Her whole goal was to create empathy and solidarity for survivors of sexual violence, and she had a special focus on young women of color who were so often left out of these conversations. It was all about community and healing long before it was ever about hashtags.
So how did this build into a global movement? Well, once that hashtag took off in 2017, the idea spread with just incredible speed, crossing borders, languages, and cultures like nothing we'd ever seen before.
If you just look at the United States, the timeline shows this rapid-fire chain of events. It all kicks off in October 2017 with the Weinstein allegations, which was really the catalyst for the viral hashtag. Then, just a few months later, you get the launch of Time's Up in Hollywood. And then came these incredibly powerful public moments, like Christine Blasey Ford's testimony. And eventually, you see tangible legal consequences, like Weinstein getting sentenced to prison in 2020.
And what's so important to remember is that this was never just an American thing. It was adapted and translated all over the world. In Argentina, it connected with the hashtag Ni Una Manos movement that was already happening. In France, it became hashtag Balance Ton Porc, which literally means expose your pig. In China, they used the phonetic translation hashtag Me Too. And in places like Pakistan and India, high-profile accusations from famous people opened the floodgates for so many others to finally share their own story.
And this brings us right back to the central question from our source material. With all of this momentum, what was the actual result? Did it lead to real, fundamental change? Or has the movement been hit with a backlash that's blunted its impact, reducing it all to just talk?
Well, the thing is, the answer is complicated. On the one hand, you absolutely cannot deny the tangible impact. Powerful people were named and shamed, and they faced real-world consequences, losing their jobs, facing legal action. It sparked new laws and policies, like a whole EU directive. But on the other hand, the critiques are just as important. The source article points out that the movement has mostly centered on elite, middle-class voices, often failing to reach the most marginalized communities. And it raises that big question, has it really changed our deep-seated cultural attitudes?
And you can actually see the impact in the numbers. I mean, look at this. In England and Wales, the number of rape reports filed with the police shot up by a staggering 190% in the 5 years leading up to that viral hashtag #MeToo moment. That suggests a huge shift was already happening in the willingness of survivors to come forward. And the personal impact on survivors themselves, well, that's just as nuanced. This quote from the research really highlights that. For some, the constant news cycle was a painful trigger, resurfacing old trauma. But for others, seeing so many people sharing similar stories was incredibly powerful and, for the first time, made them feel like they weren't alone. There's just no single universal experience. Now, the analysis here doesn't stop there. It argues that to really understand the whole landscape, we have to look at how the core themes of hashtag #MeToo, power, gender, and exploitation, are showing up in new, evolving digital threats.
First up, there's catfishing. This is a particularly nasty form of digital exploitation. Someone creates a completely fake online identity, not just to lie, but specifically to manipulate, trick, and dominate a victim. And it can be for money, for blackmail, or sometimes just for psychological control. But at its heart, it's a fundamental abuse of trust and power.
Next, the source dives into the concept of Love Jihad. Now, it describes this as an Islamophobic conspiracy theory, particularly prominent in India, that alleges a coordinated plot by Muslim men to seduce and convert women from other faiths. This idea weaponizes relationships, framing intimacy as a battleground for religious and political control, which connects directly to these broader themes of exploitation.
Okay, so after looking at the origins, the global spread, and all these complex impacts, let's circle back to the legacy of the #MeToo movement. What's the final verdict from this analysis? Where do we actually stand? This quote from the article's conclusion really captures the core finding perfectly. Think of it as a tapestry. On one hand, the movement has been incredibly successful at creating public accountability. It's flushed out the names of powerful people, but, and this is the big but, it's largely failed to achieve that deeper goal, transforming the fundamental socio-cultural attitudes that allow abuse to happen in the first place.
And that leaves us with this final, crucial question. A hashtag can go viral. It can spark a global conversation and expose a deeply rooted problem. It can even topple giants. But the ultimate challenge is still there. How do you turn a viral moment into permanent, fundamental change? That's the question we're all left to answer.